I'm playing a season in every career mode from FIFA 14 all the way to FIFA 23, and today it's time for FIFA 22. This is the game I've been looking forward to the most by far, as I've been planning to play as Nottingham Forest manager since we started this series. We'll be leaving Newcastle and we'll be moving to the East Midlands. So why would I be so excited to play as Nottingham Forest? Well, you probably won't be able to tell from just looking at the squad. To me, this squad is so full of memories, and hopefully by the end of the first season, I can convince you to also love the likes of Djed Spence, Brennan Johnson, James Garner and Ryan Yates. Anyway, our first task is to force out some of the worst players that Forest have ever had. Harry Art is the first to be transfer listed, Gaitan Bong is straight up released, and we have a bunch of young players who've been listed to go out on loan. Hopefully by the end of August, we can have a squad that's ready to compete at the top of the championship. While we try and wake this sleeping giant, we'll also be following the same rules as always. We'll try and break 2 records today, we'll sign realistic players and we'll try and match history, which in this case means promotion to the Premier League. So let's talk about the 2 records we'll be trying to break. The first has stood for almost 100 years. Port Vale would keep 30 clean sheets in a single season. The second is way more attacking. As of July 2021, when the season starts, our striker Lewis Grabban is just 23 goals away from having the most goals in this league ever. So we're definitely going to be attempting to get him to cross the line before he retires. Okay, before we start the season, let's make a transfer. We have a decent amount of budget, so let's fast forward history by signing Nico Williams a year earlier than it happened in real life. We need a left back, and I really like Nico. I've also not played FIFA 22 for over 12 months now, so I'll absolutely have to check out how he and the entire team feels in pre-season.
And welcome to the East Midlands of England. We find ourselves in the city of Nottingham. Oh, a goal! And is that going to be the one that wins it for them?
If you're interested in this kind of stuff, we're using the FIFA 22 mod for this playthrough as we're back on PC, so that's why things might look a little bit different to how you remember them. So while the season starts, let's have a quick talk about FIFA 22. The first game against Coventry was quite eye-opening actually. I don't remember the game being so difficult on Legendary. Halfway through the game, I copied the sliders I was using last year, and it did make the game feel a little bit better. But even sliders couldn't save this game against Bournemouth. I've never seen an AI be so possession heavy ever on FIFA. At half time we were 1-0 down, but we'd also only had 15% of the possession. It might sound like I'm complaining about this, but I promise you I'm not. I do wish teams in FIFA had different playing styles, and hopefully this is something we will see more as we go into FIFA 23 and eventually EA Sports FC in this series. Anyway, we got back into the game with our only shot, which meant we were still unbeaten from our first 2 games, doing a lot better than Forest were doing at this point in real life. If you didn't pay attention to the championship in 2021, you might not know that Forest only had 1 point from their first 8 games. We're doing a lot better than that after our first 8 games, but we still haven't actually scored a goal with Lewis Grabban. That 23 goals is looking like it could be very, very difficult for us to achieve. Until this game against Peterborough, where Lewis Grabban finally got his first goal for Forest this season. Just 22 more to go. We'd go on to absolutely destroy Peterborough, and this would actually turn out to be the start of a really good period of form for Nottingham Forest. Lewis Grabban was scoring pretty regularly, even if they were kind of unconventional goals, and it was a good job we did sign Nico Williams, because finally we had a spot for him on the right. While he wasn't actually even in our squad for this game, he would be playing right wing back for the next couple of games, and he put in some decent performances too, but I think he's more of one for the future. Djed Spence is just way better on FIFA. Another goal there for Lewis Grabban. He'd get a second by smashing the ball through the goalkeeper right here. I'm not sure why he doesn't have a real face in the FIFA 22 mod. He does have one in the base game, but I guess they've replaced his face slot with someone else like Djed Spence or Brennan Johnson. Grabban has barely any pace, which is why it's actually quite hard to score some goals with him, but his dribbling is actually really good. That's kind of authentic to how he played in real life as well. We nearly got a hat-trick there. We tried to go around Reading southward. We're not actually going to play Lewis Grabban in the next game because we need Keelan Davies or Sam Surridge because of how important it is to our season. It's time for the East Midlands derby.
Well, often we talk about the tactics, the individual players that are missing, but so often it's the mentality of the players that is key to winning any football game. Which of these teams has the right attitude today is the big question.
Well, I think Stuart Robson's question was answered pretty early on. Brennan Johnson had the right attitude for a derby match. He scored home and away against Derby in real life as well, so he's definitely up for this one. Derby would get a corner. Joe Worrell would try and jump, but Forsyth, Derby's longest serving player, would head it home and make it 1-1. I remember last time I played as Forest, Zinkernagel was absolutely unreal, unstoppable to play against, and it was proven the case again right here. What a dribble that was, just going straight around the goalkeeper and slotting it in after the rebound. Zinkernagel getting the ball again, doing his same trick. This time he'd pass it to Graben. Zinkernagel would have the ball in the box, and there's no stopping that. 3-1 up just before half time. Straight from the kickoff though, we were hunting, and Graben would intercept it. He'd have Brennan Johnson running through the middle. He'd find him. Surely he'll score here? He does. I'll let you into a little secret that's currently only known by Forest and Derby fans. We all have an obsession with the number 5. The A52 is the road that goes between the two cities. Forest would beat Derby 5-2, and a few years later, Derby would beat Forest 5-0. Scoring 5 is probably even better than scoring 6, and Djed Spence has just secured a 5-1 lead for us here. With such an iconic scoreline, surely we're not going for 6. Well, of course we are. Zinkernagel having a chance save. Derby would have a few chances of their own. But this mistake here from James Garner would be the final goal of the game. Colin Kazim Richards, if you remember him, would score, make it 5-2, so a repeat of that famous game from 12 years ago. Things were going really well on the pitch, but off the pitch was a total different matter. In the table we're doing really well, but the Forest board are absolutely not happy we haven't signed any youth academy players, and they're about to fire us. Thankfully we had a scout already, we sent him out, we signed 3 players, we already had a couple of other players in our academy, including this guy, who actually had 3 traits, which I don't think I've ever seen before, and that just about recovered the situation. With just 2 games of the season left, we had to get 1 more point than West Brom if we wanted automatic promotion, and it's a game against Swansea, who are not only doing really well, but also have quite a lot of history with Nottingham Forest. They were both in League One together fighting for the title, they were both in a playoff semi-final a couple of years later in the Championship together, and they've had a lot of players moving between each other and a lot of managers moving between each other as well. Thankfully though, we managed to beat Swansea on this occasion, and the results came in. West Bromwich Albion had lost. That meant we were 3 points ahead. We just needed a single point from our final game of the season.
And welcome to a game that really should have pulses racing. And I'll tell you what, the visiting fans are wondering, is today the day when they clinch promotion?
I'll tell you what, Derek Ray, I didn't think today was going to be our day when Eves decided to dribble through our entire defence after a corner and put Hull 1-0 up. Of course, we did only need the single point. A win would be amazing, but a single point would be good enough. Thankfully, Brennan Johnson would secure an equaliser just 3 minutes later. Our homegrown academy prospect with 90-something pace is just way too fast for a team like Hull to defend against. We still needed 3 or 4 goals with Lewis Graben to make him the all-time top scorer in the Championship, so it looked like that wasn't really happening as we got into the second half. In fact, we actually decided we were going to hold on for a draw here. A single point, more than good enough, and I think we've got the players to defend against Hull. Cafu did nearly get a goal here, and this final clip of the match I don't think I can actually commentate over. I just can't justify what the hell even happened. A goal kick from an absolute nothing long range shot would hit the defender straight in the chest and just bounce into the goal. I've never seen a goal like this before on FIFA. I've never seen a goal like this before in real life. But honestly, I don't really care because the referee's going to blow his whistle. We have done it. It took absolutely insane circumstances to happen, but we closed a 9-point gap in the last 10 games. We don't care how it happened. The fans don't care how it happened, and the players don't care how it happened. We got promoted to the Premier League, and if the board decides to keep us on at the end of this season, we will also be managing Forest next year in the Premier League. So let's fast forward to that little email and see if we have actually been fired. We still had a really low manager rating, but this is the day. Were we going to be managing Forest next year, or were we going to just be picking another club by a poll? Well, we've been kept on by Forest. That means on FIFA 23, we'll be continuing with this team, this series, and it'll probably be the last episode we do. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed that one too. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you soon. Cheers and goodbye.